Imagine pouring your morning coffee, and instead of falling into your cup, it floats mid-air, twisting like smoke. In that instant, every law of the universe you've trusted would collapse. Would you still believe that reality makes sense? By the end of this episode, you'll see how one man, David Hume, used the same radical doubt to dismantle everything we assume about truth, morality, and even the idea of the self. His philosophy didn't just change how we think about knowledge, it shaped science, psychology, and even modern self-awareness. And by understanding his ideas, you'll learn to apply them to everyday life, to build adaptability, emotional intelligence, and freedom from rigid thinking. This episode is powered by More Labs, creator of science-backed supplements to help you stay sharp when it matters most. Visit morelabs.com and use code Vancrux1 for 15% off. Back to the episode. David Hume was born in Edinburgh in 1711, in the heart of the Scottish Enlightenment, a period obsessed with reason, progress, and the power of the human mind. But Hume didn't want to glorify reason, he wanted to expose its limits. He wasn't just a philosopher, he was a psychological surgeon, cutting into the very fabric of thought itself. He believed all human knowledge comes from experience. But here's the paradox. Experience is unreliable. It only tells us what has happened, not what must happen. Think about the sunrise. You've seen it every morning of your life, and so you assume it will rise again tomorrow. But Hume asked, how do you know? There's no logical proof that guarantees it, yet simply formed a habit of expectation. This is Hume's problem of induction, the logical gap between what's happened before and what might happen next. He said our confidence in the future isn't reason, it's habit, a psychological pattern we mistake for certainty. So here's a real life application. Think of how it plays into your own life. You might expect your job to be stable, your business to keep growing, or your relationship to remain consistent, but that's how it's always been. But Hume reminds us that those aren't truths, they're habits. When you realise that something powerful happens, you stop being a victim of surprise. Instead of panicking when things fall apart, you adapt faster. You start to see life not as chaos, but as an unfolding experiment. Each disruption is new data, not disaster. Hume once wrote, "Custom is the great guide of human life. Our brains crave patterns, but true freedom lies in questioning them." He came up with Hume's fork, the division of knowledge. To Hume, not all knowledge is created equal. He divided all human understanding into two categories, a principle known as Hume's fork. One is the relations of ideas, truth that exists by definition, like math or logic, i.e. 2 + 2 = 4, will always be true, independent of the world. And then there's matters of fact, truths about the world that come only from experience. The sun will rise tomorrow is not guaranteed, it's based on habit, he says. If something fits neither category, Hume said it should be committed to the flames, meaning discarded as meaningless speculation. So in your daily life, you can use Hume's fork as a mental filter. Before believing a claim, ask, is this a logical truth or an experienced truth? If it's neither, you're likely dealing with an assumption, a bias, or untested belief. This is how you sharpen your mental clarity in a world full of misinformation. When Hume turned his skepticism inwards, he looked for a stable, permanent self. But what he found instead was a bundle of perceptions, fleeting sensations, emotions, and thoughts constantly changing. He wrote, "When I enter most intimately into what I call myself, I always stumble on some particular perception of other, of heat or love or hatred, pain or pleasure. I can never catch myself without a perception." So try this. Close your eyes right now and search for the you behind your thoughts. You'll find sounds, feelings, images, but nothing solid. That's because, as Hume saw it, The self is not a fixed entity, but a story the mind tells itself, a movie of experiences mistaken for a photograph. This insight can liberate you. When you understand that identity is fluid, you stop clinging to outdated versions of yourself. You're not betraying who you were, you're evolving. If you've ever said, "That's just who I am," Hume would challenge that. Maybe that's who you've been repeating. This perspective builds resilience. It allows you to reinvent yourself without guilt, to see change as neutral, not threatening. In Hume's time, philosophers believed morality came from logic or divine command. Hume shattered that illusion. He said morality is not discovered by reason, it's felt by emotion. We don't reason our way to compassion, we feel it first. See someone fall on the street, your heart reacts before your mind analyses it. That's not logic, that's empathy. He called this moral sentimentalism. The idea that our sense of right and wrong is rooted in feeling, not calculation. He even warned that reason is, and ought only to be, the slave of the passions. We're making major life decisions then, whether in leadership, business or relationships. Logic can guide you, but emotion gives meaning. If something feels wrong despite looking rational, trust that instinct. It's the emotional compass that connects logic to humanity. When you see a billiard strike another, you assume the first caused the second to move, but Hume pointed out something profound. You never actually see causation. You only see one event followed by another. Mind creates the connection. This insight can reshape how you interpret failure or success. Maybe your business didn't fail because you're unlucky. Maybe your relationship didn't end because you're unworthy. Those are invented casual stories. By questioning cause and effect, you create mental flexibility. And that's where emotional intelligence begins. You stop mistaking coincidence for destiny. Hume's guillotine slices through one of philosophy's oldest confusions, the belief that we can derive what ought to be from what is. Just because something is a certain way doesn't mean it should be. You can say people lie, but it doesn't mean people ought to lie. This cuts deep in our age of data-driven rationality. Facts describe the world, but they don't dictate values. Morality begins where description ends. So when you face ethical decisions, remember, success doesn't justify behaviour. Just because something works doesn't make it right. Hume's guillotine reminds us to align choices with moral intention, not mere effectiveness. Hume compared the mind to a theatre, a stage where perceptions come and go, but with no permanent actor behind the curtain. He believed that everything we know starts as an impression, a vivid experience, which then forms an idea in the mind. This idea laid the groundwork for modern psychology and even neuroscience. If your thoughts shape your emotional world, then control begins with awareness. Observe your impressions, what you see, feel or imagine, and you start to shape your internal theatre consciously, not reactively. So Hume didn't destroy certainty to make us despair. He did it to make us wise. He showed that doubt isn't paralysis, it's progress, that morality isn't cold logic, it's human warmth, and that the self isn't fixed, it's ever evolving. He invites you to live like a philosopher, not in abstraction but in awareness, to see each experience as data, each setback as insight, and each emotion as a clue to what truly matters. In your own life then, practice Hume's method, question your assumptions, feel deeply and hold your beliefs lightly. Because in that balance between reason and emotion, between what is and what could be, you'll find not just truth but transformation.